Hello again, everybody. Ben Jarofsky here. We're calling this Market Plunge Thursday, and here's why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. You all know why. As I begin my conversation with the legendary Monroe Anderson. He's standing by drinking a delicious cup of tea or coffee, whatever it is that he's drinking, looking very dapper in a hat. The only good sight I've seen all day is Monroe Anderson in that really cool hat that I'm kind of jealous of. As we speak, markets are plunging because Donald Trump thought it was a good idea to do something completely and totally illogical, which is without any kind of thought, any kind of reason, any kind of analysis, just impose a bunch of tariffs on a bunch of countries throughout the world. I don't know, just because he said he would and said he could. There's no rhyme or reason to anything he ever does, except for one thing: how can it benefit him? Either that is, it's like the insanity of a demented man. Now, I've been saying for months and months he is demented. There's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump is demented. There's all kinds of different kinds of dementias we're starting to understand. The one obvious kind that everybody recognized was Joe Biden's, where he was incapable of finishing a sentence that he started, would wander off and drift in mid phrase sometimes. Monroe, forgetting where he was, forgetting who he was. It's okay. It happens to us all. We all get old. None of us are getting any younger. Even the great Monroe Anderson is not getting any younger. Okay. And I'm certainly not getting any younger. So yeah, the country recognized that Joe Biden was demented. Now Donald Trump's kind of angry dementia, where he just brays and yells and loses, just like acts like a lunatic in a corner. That's a different form of insanity, in my humble opinion. Again, I am no therapist. I should say this, a doctor. I'm not a doctor. But it was funny. There's this great. Denali, please excuse me. Please excuse me what I'm about to do. Denali, dear friend of the show, criticizes me for alluding to Bill Burr bits, but Bill Burr was on the Joe Rogan show, and Joe Rogan, this is during COVID, and they were sitting in the studio smoking cigars, just showing their contempt for absolutely every kind of ritual or protocol in the COVID days, and also any kind of ban or prohibition on smoking inside. It was their way of showing that they are rebels and they're going to do what they want to do, and they believe in freedom, unless it's freedom for people they disagree with. So Bill Burr Joe Rogan started mocking the concept of wearing a mask during COVID, and Bill Burr just cut him off. And he just said, "I'm not going to have this conversation. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. You look like a clown with that American flag in the background, acting like you're a doctor." I always like that. A little bit of honesty. We don't know what we're doing. We're just opining. And so it's the same with me. I'm not an economist. I've not studied in great depth and detail the impact that tariffs have on the long range of economy. But I'll tell you this, neither is Donald Trump. He's president of the United States. I'm just a guy talking into a microphone. Donald Trump has not given 1 second of sophisticated thought to the policies he's imposing. He is not. There's not one iota of evidence that suggests, that proves, that demonstrates that Donald Trump has analyzed what the consequences of what he's doing right now will have on the long-term impact of everything from the price of eggs. Remember when that was a big deal last year? All you liberals out there, the reason Kamala Harris lost, Ben, was the price of eggs. God damn. So the price of eggs, the retirement savings of old geezers like me and Monroe, just the impact of all that money we stashed away. They destroyed pensions in this country, and they said, here's what we're going to do. In the absence of pensions, we're going to have something called 401ks, and you too are going to be mini investors, and you're going to buy into the stock market, and you're investing, you build a portfolio, and instead of a monthly allowance or a bi-weekly allowance that fortifies you when you're old, you are going to be the beneficiaries of this, your fiduciary wisdom, and you will have this wealth, a treasure chest of money awaiting for you, which we will guard very carefully because we care very much about you. Then America, because they can't stand black women, elects this freaking lunatic who's dedicated to the notion of tariffs, and he poses tariffs without any rhyme or reason, as I said. And Monroe, right now, this is the lead up. I think it's the sell-off today is 4%. So that enormous portfolio that you dutifully invested in to take care of you in your ripe old age is now less in one day, 4% less than it was the day started. Lord knows where it's going. Lord knows if Donald Trump has any clue as to what he's doing and how his proclamation at the White House on one day will impact the retirement accounts of millions and millions of Americans the next day. I don't think he cares. I don't think he knows. I think he just realizes one essential point. 45%, Monroe and I will argue over that number, of America are willing to follow him off a cliff. Well, America, you're about to follow him off the cliff. Heck of a job, American voters, in that last election. All right, I'm done ranting and railing for the moment, Monroe. I've ranted and railed my way out. And I'll turn it over to you and your thoughts as you watch the stock market plunge in the immediate aftermath of Donnie's tariff announcement. Go ahead.
Okay, Ben, you don't know what Trump's dementia is, but I do. It's called big fat toddler's disease.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Lord. That's good.
No, the thing is with these tariffs is he's been into tariffs since the 80s. There's video where he talks about tariffs and how good they are.
Yeah.
He knows about tariffs, but since he's not that bright, he hadn't figured it all out. There was the Smoot-Hawley law back in 1930. And the thing was, tariffs was supposed to be the great solution to the depression we were in. Well, it was a solution of sorts because it went from a great recession to the Great Depression. It extended
I laugh.
Right. And so every economist in America, well, except for people on his payroll, but every legitimate economist in America says that tariffs are a tax, and that they were bad. They're to be used strategically, not just cure all to end all. You use a tariff. Let's say if the Chinese who are about to wipe out Tesla with their electric cars, they're cheaper and more efficient, and so you put because you like Elon a lot, then you put a tariff on the Chinese cars to protect Elon's cars.
Yeah.
But you don't everywhere.
Okay, I understand the principle.
Right.
Of intervening in a marketplace to protect a community that you care greatly about.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we've talked about it for years in Chicago. How we should use our money, our economic development money, to favorably invest in communities that are poor and blighted and need to help up. So I understand that concept. Okay.
Right.
Now, going to bat, to use your example, for one particular company, I understand it was just an example that you were using.
Yeah.
But going to bat for one particular company at the expense of everybody else, I would say is an extreme case of overreach, and is probably in the line, falls into illegal areas. Like you're using the might of the government. I understand it was just an example, but
and I was being a bit facetious.
Yes, I understand you were being facetious, but I was taking serious. Again, I was doing some very rudimentary analysis of why, like, to explain why we're taking the steps that we're taking. And I also understand that as a phrase, Donald Trump loved to kick around the notion of tariffs.
Right.
And it's all part of his grifter spiel, where he just repeats certain words over and over again.
He believes in it. That's why so far he hasn't been spooked by the stock market because tariffs are his drug of choice, shall we say. I mean, he's been talking about them. This is the problem that the MAGA people continuously miss. And that's that, let me get it. Okay. What the MAGA people continuously miss is that Trump is a horrible businessman. He went bankrupt 6 times. One of those bankruptcies was for his casino. And anybody who knows anything about the casino business knows that the house always wins. So it takes a special type of businessman.
Don't make me laugh.
Right, exactly. So he doesn't know what he knows business, not at all. But
Yeah.
he likes to fancy himself a business genius.
Yeah.
And the MAGA people believe him.
Yeah.
And so he's running the country the way he's run his businesses.
Yeah.
And we're on the road to the same thing.
Well, I'm gonna not gonna follow you down that path of venturing into Donald Trump's brain to what he really believes in. So you said that he believes in terrorism. I'll just concede that point because I just don't want to debate what I don't know, which is what's going on in Donald Trump's brain. And frankly, you don't know either.
I slipped in there. And for a minute, I got trapped. And so I wet my pants. And in wetting my pants, I was able to slip back out. So I know.
What?
It's a scary place.
I've been fighting a cough, ladies and gentlemen, for the last couple of weeks. And when I laugh, it triggers the cough. And what a vision. Monroe in Donald Trump's brain and then wetting his pants. I'm like, it was a little too much for me. Big fat toddler disease. That was a riff. You just knocked that one out.
Yeah.
And let's try to fill in the blanks on that one. Big fat toddler disease. I understand the big and the fat. Okay. Yeah. What do you mean by toddler disease? That Donald Trump has a toddler disease? Because even if you were just riffing and you were just saying the first things that came to your mind, like you were Hendrix on the guitar, just playing those notes.
Yeah.
You said something. Toddler disease. Go ahead.
If you've ever been exposed to a toddler.
Yes.
I went through it a couple of times, and I have a granddaughter who just turned 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's when a child is just now becoming aware of his or herself.
Okay.
And so they think the world centers around them because they're getting attention from their parents. Plus, that's the only thing they can imagine. I mean, they're just becoming aware that, hey, I'm a me. I am a person. And so they expect everything to be the way they want it to be. They have temper tantrums when they aren't, they fall out on the floor and they wail or what have you.
Yeah.
Try to get their way that way. And if that doesn't work, then they tell you how much they hate you.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Wow. That's good, Monroe. That's his behavior right now. That's the man you elected, America. I just got to point that out. And so I'm now going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to back away from a conversation about how our our retirement portfolios are collapsing as we speak. I'm going to step away from a discussion about how the safety net that exists in our country is being shredded. The possibility that Social Security could be shredded. The very real impacts of cuts to Veterans Administration, and talk about how we can get out of this. And so it's America's fault. It's the only way I can put it. You had a choice, America.
Half of America.
Okay.
I'm in that other half, and I'm not taking any blame whatsoever.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. You're like the car sticker that back in the day that said, "Don't blame me, I'm from Massachusetts." That was alluding to the 1972 landslide in which every state in America except for Massachusetts voted for Richard Nixon
and DC.
Yeah, which is not a state.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And God bless DC.
Right, exactly. That's why it won't be a state as long as the Republicans can do anything about it.
Yes, they'll never let it.
They vote the wrong way there.
So Keenan Collins and we were giving out trophies and ribbons to voting groups and blocks, and it was like not much of a competition. Once again, for like I don't know how many, every election in a row, Black women win the trophy for smartest voters. Yeah. Once again, 98% for Kamala. Yeah. Black men once again finished second, so that's pretty good. Second, and the rest of the country. Oh my God, you guys are awful. Every single voting block. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I think the majority of Hispanics voted for Kamala, but just barely.
Oh, that may be more disgraceful than the white. This guy has maligned Hispanics from the moment he got into office. That's embarrassment that you have to. 51% voted.
I can assure you, they have buyer's remorse.
Oh God.
I've seen interviews with some of them who voted for him.
Yeah.
Who said, "Well, I didn't think he was going to do it to me."
Yeah. I just hate they hate Black women. Why don't you just admit it? You got America. You could be a lot further along the line of dealing with the ailments that are in your head if you could just confess and admit to them. But even white liberals can't do it. You can't find a white liberal who will come out and say, yes, America voted for Donald Trump because it's prejudice against Black women. They can't bring themselves to say it, Monroe. So they'll start babbling about the price of eggs. They'll start babbling about absolutely anything that they've heard on NPR or that they've read in the newspaper that just fortifies their notion that prejudice doesn't exist in our country.
Well, prejudice exists, but I'm not sure they hate Black women. I think they just believe that Black women belong in the house, their house, cleaning it up.
Okay. I always hate, fear, resent. You choose your word.
Yeah, right.
Envy. It's a really weird attitude. Yeah. That said, because of that attitude, we're where we're at.
Right.
Because of that attitude, Monroe, we are where we're at. Because America, absent you, absent me, because 50% of this country is so filled with contempt for Black women and so filled with hate and envy or resentment, whatever you want to call it, we have elected a lunatic.
Yeah, we have, but actually it's not 50%, it's 49.9. He doesn't have a majority.
You're right, it's not even 50%.
Right. But according to him, it's a mandate. So
it's a mandate.
We have to take his word for it.
Well, if he says it must be true because Donald Trump never lies. Okay.
Right.
Never lies. Oh God, help us all. All right.
So, help is on the way.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's give Monroe credit because last week he was on the show. Last week he said, and this is before Wisconsin. He said, it is the beginning of the end. You said that. That was your quote. I wrote it down.
Yes.
You also said some other predictions, which I'm sure you got wrong, and you owe me breakfast, but I can't remember what the bet was, so I'm screwed once again.
Right. It should be in concrete on my Rushmore because it's so monumental that I did that.
Don't make me laugh, man.
However, that Rush Mountmore spot is reserved for Trump because that's what he's shooting for. He thinks that he should be up there because his nuts, the Trump nuts, say that he should be around Mount Rushmore.
Let's cut a deal, man. Let's just have Kamala Harris get to be president of the United States and Donald Trump step down. And in exchange for that, we will agree to put Donald Trump's mug on Mount Rushmore.
No,
we'll add a fit. Come on, man. You would do it. You wouldn't take that deal? Right now, Kamala Harris, President Harris, Donald Trump steps down. They switch. Okay, Donnie, in exchange, we put you on Mount Rushmore. All right, the beginning of the end.
The beginning and the savior is going to be us. That 48 point whatever percent.
Yeah.
We're going to be the savior. I mean, it's happening right now. There are all sorts of protests happening in this country every day. I think they're going to. I think our next one is here in Chicago on Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's protests. Literally somewhere there's a protest going on, an anti-Trump Elon protest going on every day in this country. Some are pretty sizable. Some are relatively small. But the thing is, when you have a protest in a small town, then the local media covers it. So Fox and Newsmax and all the right-wing bubble media's people are not able to lie as well because there's damage being done. And these people are protesting the damage being done. And so no matter how Fox tries to tell you, well, everything's going to be really good by and by, it's not true.
Yeah.
People are not believing it.
Yeah. They've moved to the by and by phase of their propaganda war.
Right. Exactly.
They have definitely moved to the. So if you recall, ladies and gentlemen, when you, the American people, decided it was a good idea to elect this demented lunatic as your president because you don't like black women, as you recall, Donald Trump promised immediate results, day one results. The turnaround would happen. The golden age of America would begin on day one. That's what he promised. Now we're by and by.
Right. Well, and with his puppet master, he was temporarily upset with him because of what he's been doing to prevent a peace talks to actually happen. And so Trump announced that he was mad at Putin and that he might have tariffs against him.
Yeah.
And the tariffs will not work against Putin. That's not Putin has figured out how to get around those.
Yeah.
The only thing that will work, that will bring him, because he's stalling for time, just like Trump stalled for time on all his criminal cases until it resolved itself, because that 49.9 was foolish enough to vote for him. Anyway, what we have now is that there's only one solution, and that's to give Ukraine every weapon they need to defeat Russia. And the more with really good weapons that we have, Putin will come to the table because he'll realize he can't win the war. But that's the only solution. This terrorist is not the solution. Putin's already been declared a war criminal. So,
so you began this by talking about what Trump had said, and I'm now going to offer a suggestion to the mainstream media in this country, which they're free not to take, of course, and they probably will never take. But I believe the reporting of what Trump says as if it's news, or worse, what people close to the Trump administration say he has said behind the scenes. Stop. Because there's no legitimacy to anything Donald Trump says.
But he's the president, so you can't not report what the president says.
Well,
he has the power.
Then you should report it in such a way as to show that this is a demented lunatic. Because follow me on this. This is something that in the aftermath of Wisconsin, we'll get to Wisconsin. Everybody wants to hear what you think about Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, of course, the state Supreme Court race where the Democrat Crawford defeated the MAGA candidate who had been backed by Musk in a convincing fashion. 55 to 45, roughly, was the percentage of the vote. That's a huge talk about a mandate. That is a mandate for Wisconsin.
Right.
So one more time, cheeseheads, congratulations. And if everybody really wants to hear me extol their virtues, go check out the conversation that Del Marie and I had, Del Marie Kopp. So Monroe, in the aftermath, there was reported, I think Politico had it, Hill had it, Washington Post, all the regulars, that sources close to the White House said that Donald Trump was had openly talking about getting rid of Elon Musk. They put that out there. And that filters out to the wider, that gets disseminated one way or another. Billy Bob reads it, tells Janie Sue. Janie Sue goes to get a haircut and tells the person cutting her hair. I say this because my wife cuts hair. So I hear at the end of the day, everything that mostly North Side liberals are saying. So I have a sense like where their brains are going. And they're like parroting this refrain that Trump's people put out and the press bought into, that Donald Trump is talking about getting rid of Elon Musk. Now, he himself has never said it publicly, but
he did. He said it at a cabinet meeting.
Was it public in front of a microphone?
Yeah.
You actually heard him say it?
Yeah, what he said, he didn't say he was getting rid of him. He said that he would be leaving soon.
Okay.
Because he needed to take care of his failing auto company. instead of Trump's failing political.
The point is, that is hardly a declaration. You want to get rid of him? Get rid of him. You blame him for your stunning loss on Tuesday? Fire him.
He's not blaming him.
That is correct. So it's all bullshit, Monroe.
No, what he said, and this will happen more than likely. This is what I believe will happen, is that they're going to take him out of that official phase where he can go bigfooting into any department anytime. Yeah. He's going to be removed from that, but he's going to be kept close enough in Trump's graces where he will remain a good cash cow.
Yeah. Okay. So they're finessing it. So the point is, when Donnie wants to fire someone, this is his whole persona. You're fired. Yeah. That's half of America voted for him because he's decisive. He's a businessman. He knows how to get things done. He's built an empire.
Right.
He failed at a gambling casino. God, right. He knows how to build an empire. I saw it on TV, Ben. So therefore, it must be true. And I'm sticking with Donnie. If he wanted to fire Musk, he could fire Musk, Monroe, but he hasn't fired him. He's not going to fire him because you're right. He wants that money.
Right. Yeah, because Elon gave $250 billion to Trump's candidate in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
judicial candidate.
What a waste of money.
Yeah, right.
Total waste of money. Just there's so much need. People with needs in this country.
He has money to waste, and the thing is, because he's a white man from South Africa, he don't care about the people unless they're white.
Man, I'm going to avoid that path for this conversation, because once we go down the white man from South Africa path, there's no knowing where we're going to go, Monroe.
Right. Well,
but that's apparently the only immigrant group in the world that's welcome to the United States in the age of Trump. White people from South Africa, not South Africans. White people from South Africa.
Right. Yeah, they're welcome.
All right. So, so my suggestion to the media, which I know I could see from your resistance as a lifelong member of the media, they won't follow. You should, if Donald Trump says something, you should immediately say, Donald Trump says all kinds of shit, most of which isn't true, most of which is contradicted by what he said the day before. We are obligated to report this because you, America, elected him as our president. Thanks for nothing. So here's a little pearl of wisdom from the demented mind of the lunatic you've elected president. I believe that's how they should phrase everything, all reporting on what Donald Trump says.
No, they do that on MSNBC. They do that. But the way they do it is they say the unproven or disproven. I mean, they don't call it a lie, but they say it's already been proven, or they use another phrase that it's not coming to mind right now. But anyway, what they say is that it's BS.
So go back to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
55 to 45 percent of the vote. And so when Del Murray and I were talking it over in the immediate aftermath, she came up with 3 basic categories to explain it. And one is the abortion issue. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just doing what's popping into my mind. Another one is contempt for Musk, and a third one, in general, is a displeasure, to put it mildly, with the direction the country's taking with Donald Trump's first couple months in office, and a desire not to see the state of Wisconsin follow him down that path.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about that? Do you agree with that analysis, or would you add something else to the list? Go ahead.
I would add, and I put it at the top of the list, was his blatant attempt to buy the judgeship. He was, it's like, I'm the richest man in the world. I can buy this. And they were insulted that he so boldly, he gave a couple of $1 million checks, big cardboard checks, like, to people who showed up. Now, both of them, interestingly enough, were connected to Trump supporting groups. They were, one of Trump's PACs or something. But anyway, he gave the money away. Plus, he's giving people $100 if they could prove that he was trying to buy their vote. I mean, just out and out. I mean, the good old fashioned American way is you do it, but you're secretive about it. You're not on TV showing that this is what you're doing. In fact, I always think about Harold Washington when he was
there. You go.
What he said, take the money, but vote for me.
No, take the turkey. So this, you know what, Monroe and I are like beaming. I was actually, this may have worked. I was beaming that to you while you were riffing. I was going, Harold. And it worked because our minds are like in lockstep here. So the greatest mayor the city of Chicago's ever had, Harold Washington. Come on, you can admit it, Daley lovers. You know he was better than Daley. The greatest mayor the city of Chicago ever had, Harold Washington, one more time, was running the first time around against Jane Byrne and Baby Daley. And remember, Jane Byrne's people were going around Cabrini Green, I think it was, passing out turkeys. Remember this? They were passing out turkeys.
Yeah.
And Harold said, take the turkey and vote for me.
Right.
And it's true, man. Right. I'll take Elon Musk's $1 million check, but I'm not voting for whatever the dude's name was, Mr. MAGA man, I'm like, okay, because how's Elon Musk gonna know, Monroe?
But that's why the winners of this were proven supporters of Trump. I mean, to where they ran organizations or something. Yeah. So he knew it wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna pull a name out of that hat, and whoever that is, it's Ben Joravsky. He contributed $500.
Oh my goodness, stop. They put my name out of the hat. Folks, I'm just telling you this right now. If Elon Musk ever pulls my name out of a hat, something's wrong with that hat. Okay. I don't want anything that he's pulling out of the hat.
They pulled your name out of the hat. And you now have a beach property in Miami.
I got a beach property somewhere in South Africa.
Right. You keep it a secret.
I'll tell you what my thought is in terms of Wisconsin, that it just sort of underscores how twisted the American voters are. And I try to look at a positive side, but I'm thinking long term how difficult this will be, Monroe, to eradicate us from where we are. And so follow me on this.
Okay.
The voters, I've said this before in this mic, the voters in Wisconsin had a Supreme Court race. And by the way, listeners, I'm going to have one of the chief strategists of the Supreme Court victory from Wisconsin on the show next week, so we could break it down in more specificity. But a few years ago, they had a very similar race for the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, a liberal versus a MAGA person, a woman versus a MAGA man. And the liberal won convincingly, almost the same margin. So the margin is very similar when a liberal woman judicial candidate is running against a MAGA man, conservative, obviously, candidate in Wisconsin. The voters have shown that they want the liberal Democrat. They do not want to go down the MAGA path. They don't want to turn their Supreme Court over to make the state anti-abortion, essentially.
Right.
It's twice, 2 for 2. Sandwiched in between those results were 2024.
Yeah.
Where the state of Wisconsin voted plurality. I'm not sure if it was a majority or plurality. I can't remember.
Whisker. Yeah.
It was a whisker. Yeah. I can't remember if Donnie got over 50% of the vote or not, but they gave most of the votes to Donnie. And so he got the electoral tally from the state of Wisconsin. And the disconnect, Monroe, between what the voters did in the Supreme Court races and what they did in the presidential race is really difficult for me to explain and understand. Do you have any thought?
I tell you what I thought. So they were pissed off because Elon came in there and tried to buy the vote. And so what she did was she made it an Elon issue versus a Trump issue, because then the people who had voted for Trump wouldn't be going well.
No, I understand that point you made. I understand that point. But what I'm saying is that the total, it was almost the same margin that the winning liberal Democrat got before Musk and after Musk. And in between, they voted for Trump. And I'm trying to understand why the same voting group of people would do something so dramatically different between one voting cycle in 2002, I think it was, before Musk was a factor, another time in 2005 when he was a factor, and in the middle for Donald Trump. They voted for Trump. It's so diametrically different. And I'm trying to understand what was at play here so we could avoid replicating the same disaster down the road.
Right. My guess is that Trump was not on the ballot this time. Because they love, I mean, Trump has a following that's just irremovable, apparently.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's only when his name is on there that he comes out really big. I mean, because we liberals stole the election from him in 2020. Then they had to go vote for him to make sure that this time we weren't able to steal it.
Yeah. Well, I think long term.
Yeah, his firing people, these firings and Social Security or his poison pill.
Yeah, explain that. I heard Monroe gave me this riff yesterday when I was we were talking on the phone. And the third rail, of course, third rail of politics is don't touch Social Security.
Exactly. And
then, or it's instant electrocution. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. Yeah. There was when I started at the Tribune back in 1974 as a reporter, there was this one story that still sticks in my mind where this guy was, it was late at night, this guy was standing on the L waiting for a train and had been drinking and was drunk. And he relieved himself on the tracks, and the urine stream hit the third rail, and he was electrocuted on the spot. And this is what Elon is doing now with these with this Dodge stuff.
Doge.
It's Dodge.
Wow.
It's Trump's Dodge, but Doge. Trump is trying to be free of blame, where he can give up.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the other thing, my main theory, all these firings of federal employees, it's sort of like it's a domino effect going on. This is what I want you to imagine. Trump is Humpty Dumpty.
Okay.
Underneath the wall that Humpty Dumpty is sitting on, there's this very elaborate domino pattern that works. They every year or two you'll see some domino creation where they not start off one domino and it takes 3 minutes for all of them to knock each other down. It's a beautiful pattern. But what Trump has done with these firings is he set the dominoes, just like you take Humpty Dumpty and you let him have his great fall. And when he's falling, he hits the dominoes. And so he's not going to be able to escape this. Trump is gone. He's Humpty Dumpty. You're going to be able to put him together again. But in the meantime, all these dominoes have fallen. All these people have been fired, and the firings impact all of us. For example, Pam, your wife, has her beauty shop.
That's correct.
She doesn't work for the federal government, but I'm sure she has some customers who do come in there who work for federal government.
Yes, she does.
And they're not going to be able to come get their hair done because they're not employed.
Yeah.
And so, or they're not going to be interested in getting their hair. Who needs to have their hair done to sit at home? And so it's going to impact you.
Yeah.
Pam.
Yeah.
And then you won't be buying caviar every other week now because business isn't doing as well as it once did.
You don't have to worry about me, Monroe, because I'm baby Warren Buffett with my astute investments in my 401k. Oh, wait a minute. It just went down another percentage point. Right. Thanks, Donnie. Thanks for nothing. I have no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that Elon Musk is going nowhere. That comment that Donald Trump made, the one you're alluding to, was so vague and misleading. He might as well not have made it. It's just, it's just like another example of things just sort of falling out of his mouth.
Well, no, you see, this is the thing is, though, this is what you have to keep in mind.
So Musk is going nowhere. Go ahead.
We have Musk on one shoulder.
Yeah.
And Bannon on the other. And Bannon is like the people's, the populace. And he's telling Trump that to keep the MAGA group in line, you have to be a populist, a real populist, not an oligarchist.
Okay.
And in the meantime, Musk is on the other shoulder, and he's waving tons of money back and forth. And so Trump is going, Musk.
No, he's going to listen to Musk. He's going to listen to the money. Sorry, Stevie.
No, because without the MAGA base, he is nothing.
The MAGA base, he controls the MAGA base, not Bannon.
No,
let's get that. Don't get that twisted.
Yeah, Bannon. Yeah,
Bannon knows which side his bread is buttered. He's gonna suck up to Trump.
No. Bannon has his own following, and
not as big as Trump's.
It's not as big, but it's a major part. Without it, Trump is Ben Joravsky or Monroe Anderson.
Okay, well, no, I'm not going to follow this up to some bet, which I will then forget when I win, but I will be reminded of when I lose, which is really unfair. To
your listeners, mark this down,
okay,
so that you can send Ben an email.
Yeah,
a couple of months from now.
Okay.
Say, Ben, you owe Monroe another breakfast. You can add it to this half a dozen you haven't paid off yet.
The half a dozen they haven't paid off, and the half a dozen I've forgotten about.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I work for the assumption that Elon Musk is going nowhere because he puts the money in, he kicks the money into Trump, and also he absorbs the blame. And so
he's useful.
He's very useful. Yeah. And I listen, some of the quotes coming out of Wisconsin from voters, I just had me shaking my head. More lunacy. Like, we like, by the way, so Chicago. This is Chicagoans do not for 1 minute think you're exempt from this. Like, you're different. You're better than these Musk people, these Trump people. The voters in Wisconsin who voted for the MAGA man, they're like, we still love Donnie, but Musk, we don't like Musk running around firing people. Who do you think empowered Musk to fire the people? MAGA?
Right. Not even more than empowered. Who told him, go at it, dude.
Yeah.
Get rid of as many of them as possible.
So I'll give you the Chicago.
If they're black or women.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Black or women.
Yeah.
Firings. We'll get into that. But here in Chicago, and here's the correlation, Monroe. More than once, and these are days I would be, as a reporter writing about neighborhood issues, I get called to meet with someone in the neighborhood who's complaining about something bad that the Daley administration was effectively doing to this person's neighborhood or community. And the person would point out whatever it was. I'd be dutifully taking notes. This is in the 90s, ladies and gentlemen. This is the height of your brainwashing into loving Mayor Daley. And the person would tell me, I'm really glad you're writing this article, because when the mayor sees this, he's going to correct it, because he will not believe that this injustice was happening in his city. I'm like, first of all, the concept that the mayor reading something I wrote is hilarious, number one. Number two, you think the mayor, this is happening like absent the mayor? This is whatever dumb idea you're being victimized by is formed by the mayor. But you just are so brainwashed. I can't believe that Mayor Daley would ever do anything bad, Ben. He's such a great. And so Chicagoans, you guys have the same mentality, essentially a MAGA. And so maybe it's just a losing proposition, Monroe, to think that we could ever have a meaningful change in our country, because people fall for the biggest BS. They don't seem capable of discerning truth from fiction. They just fall for the same old lies. Am I being too cynical here, Monroe? Am I being too jaded? Am I being unfair?
Yes, you are. And we can go to the Senate speech, Cory Booker. I mean, he had more listeners, viewers of parts of his speech than anybody ever. I mean, it's just incredible. All over the world, people were listening to this, including Americans.
Yeah. And
he did such an incredible job. I mean, and of course, part of it was the curiosity of when is he going to give out. Mm-hmm. But also, unlike Cruz's boycott speech, he did.
Yeah.
Where not boycott.
It's not a filibuster. It was just because
it was sort of a filibuster.
Sort of, yeah, I guess. Not really, because there's no particular bill that he was holding up, but whatever.
Right.
Point well taken.
Yeah, but he was doing green eggs and ham.
Yeah, no, I know.
It wasn't, whereas Booker was discussing issues and talking about Trump and all the horrible things Trump did.
Yeah.
And he was reading emails coming in from people who were complaining about Trump. It was great.
So let me ask you this, in your humble opinion.
Yeah.
We have two models for the Democrats to follow as they think about running in 2028.
Yeah.
One I'll call the Cory Booker model.
Okay.
And the Cory Booker model was on full display earlier this week when Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey, the Democratic senator from New Jersey, got up and, as Monroe pointed out,
presidential candidate.
Former presidential candidate in 2019,
right?
And maybe future presidential candidate in 2028. Yes, probably, very likely. Got up and held the floor in the Senate for over 24 hours, breaking the record of Strom Thurmond.
25 over 25. He did 25.
Over 25. Well, okay, all right. Either way, you're right. God, if you were my editor, I think you would have driven me crazy years ago. Because more than 24 is the same as more than 25.
No. That's why it's a record.
Right. You know what? As much as it kills me to say that, you are right, and I am wrong. This is what breakfast with me and Monroe is like. This for 2 hours. You're right. I'm wrong. Anyway, so Cory Booker gets up there, orates, condemning Trump, condemning MAGA, condemning what they've taken the country, and pleading for unity as we come to our senses and end the madness. And then, in contrast, you have Governor Gavin Newsom, who has started his own podcast where he brings on MAGA people, and he basically says, "Oh, it's so interesting to hear your thoughts. I never thought about the world that way. We have common ground." Which, in your humble opinion, is a more successful recipe for getting this country heading in the right direction? Praising MAGA and thanking them for their great contributions to society, which is the Gavin Newsom method, or directly criticizing MAGA and pointing out how they are damaging our country with the Cory Booker approach. Your response?
Newsom has movie star looks, and that's and movie star mentality. Also, what Cory did was from following the influence and footsteps of the civil rights movement, where you go out and make some good trouble, and that's what he did with his 25 plus hours. Was he did some good trouble, and Newsom, he's not going to be the candidate. The people, this is the thing that's amazing, really good though, is that this is truly a grassroots movement. The Tea Party back when Obama was president, and they were against Obamacare, was an AstroTurf movement, where a bunch of rich people gave them money to protest, and they spread it around a little bit. And so it was a created situation, manufactured. This is spontaneous, what's going on now. And Cory, in coming forward and doing what he did, will more than likely be the face of the movement. Because if you'll recall, a couple of weeks ago, people were complaining, saying that there was no leader of this movement. There's no face to put to it. He will be the face.
I can't remember, Monroe. We'll close with this. I truly cannot remember what you were saying in 2019 when Cory Booker was running for president. There were 20 candidates running for the Democratic nomination. He was one of them. And we would rank our top 5. And I can't recall whether Cory Booker ever broke into your top 5.
No, he did not. I didn't I did not. I thought that Corey was back then what I think Newsom is now, and he was saying the stuff to get the nomination, but I didn't think he was a serious candidate in the sense of actually performing. You know, that's he. You know, there for a long time there have been rumors that he's gay, and so he suddenly gets engaged to a Hollywood actress, Rosario. I forget her name now, but anyway, they get engaged, so that'll kill that. You know, I mean, I he didn't seem sincere enough at that time. But people, you know, I think he's changed. You know, and he has an impressive resume.
Oh yeah, and I think it was you and I. But we'll both watch the documentary about him, his first campaign for mayor of Newark, which is a great documentary. Man, you talk about tough politics.
Oh, yeah.
Newark politics, Monroe. God damn.
Because you had Amiri Baraka.
No, this before him. This was you're right. He was
the poet.
That is correct.
Right.
Yes.
He was a black nationalist poet.
Yeah.
Who didn't like him at all. He thought he was too accommodating to white.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his son is now the mayor of Newark. But anyway, I thank him for that, and I'll close with this. I don't want to be. I want to give a shout out to the Democratic strategists and party people in Wisconsin, because I mean they led the way. They marshaled the response. They got their volunteers there. They raised the money.
But you had other things going on too, because Bernie and AOC were out there kicking.
Oh man, AOC is doing it. Yes, yeah.
In fact, there is talk that she's going to run for the Senate.
Yeah, against Schumer.
Against Schumer.
Yeah, go run, AOC, run.
Yeah, I think you can take him out too.
Yeah, no, Schumer, man, and it's so funny. We'll close with this. Schumer, after voting to kill the filibuster 2 weeks ago, Monroe and I were talking about that. That was a conversation 2 weeks ago. Is the one who says to Cory Booker, Senator Booker, I just want to interrupt you to tell you broke the record, and trying to get in on the glory. I'm going, come on, Schumer.
Right. Congratulations. Right, exactly.
Schumer, just stop talking for a moment, okay?
But this is speaking of the Senate, this is an indication that the fever is breaking, in that 4 Republicans are voting against Trump's position that this is a crisis.
Right. They voted against the executive order. This is a national crisis, and therefore we must impose tariffs on Canada.
Right.
And they took a stand against tariffs on Canada.
Exactly.
Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, I could do this by heart, Rand Paul, and Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, the liberal from Kentucky, were the 4. Rand Paul, I could see. See, this is what I'll close with this, Monroe.
Okay.
And the lack of all the problems that we face because of MAGA America, the lack of principles on their part is really one of those frustrating. They stand for nothing. They make these great proclamations about like how they believe in free markets or liberty, and then they violate them with their policies.
Right.
They break whatever principles they have on a daily basis. So you can't have a legitimate debate and discussion with people like that. If they're rootless, they'll go anywhere. They'll say anything. They'll do anything.
Right.
So at least, and the bar is low, at least Rand Paul is standing by his free market principles on this particular, on one vote,
because Canada It's not drinking bourbon at all.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So it's not even a principle.
Exactly. No, it's like it's bourbon.
Sorry, Rand Paul. I take it all back. You're right. You're right.
Right.
You're right. It's all bullshit. All right, we have run out of time. And Monroe Anderson, thank you very much. We didn't make any bets, so I'm not sure I lost anything, but it's always a blast talking to you. We'll talk to you real soon. All right, Monroe?
All right. Okay. Take care.
All right. That's the legendary Monroe Anderson. Also want to thank producer Chris. He does an outstanding job. And I know Monroe agrees with when they say, hey, producer Chris, give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. Peace and love, everybody.